Oh, so she's now blaming her father now. Oh, this is going to be interesting, y'all. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Pascal back at it again with another pop-up video. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and on Twitter, The Pascal Show, one word. Hit that like button down below, and let's not forget to crush that subscribe button if this is your first time checking out this channel right here. And of course, please check out my merch page, my store, pascalmerch.com. We got a huge sale going on right now for Black Friday throughout the entire month of November. So please go check it out. 30% off everything in store. Go check it out. pascalmerch.com. Anyway, we got to jump into this story. I told you guys that I would tell you guys if there was any updates or if we found out any more information surrounding this Casey Anthony documentary, this new interview that she has coming out now, coming out at the end of the month. Wow, I'm sorry, I'm still kind of wrapping my mind around this one because this one's absolutely insane. But then again, I know that there's a lot of people that out here that are still supporters of Casey Anthony, still think that maybe she's innocent. I don't believe any of this. I don't believe that at all. I think that this woman knew a lot of things, and I have a lot of questions revolving around all this. It's so interesting, but what's interesting to me too now is the stuff that she's saying in this interview. Now she's just trying to put cases on everybody. It's very weird. So let's take a look at this article. This is from People magazine. Apparently they got a chance to see the interview, this documentary, before everyone else. So they gave us a little teaser as to what her new narrative is going to be. So let's take a look at this. It says in the title, Casey Anthony blames her father for her daughter, Caylee's demise. He took her, quote unquote, he took her from me and he went away. In her first on-camera interview, Casey makes several explosive claims about her daughter's demise. Let's get into this. Casey Anthony finally speaking out, placing blame for her daughter's demise squarely on her father, George Anthony. Anthony, now 36, Casey Anthony, not her dad. That would be crazy. Okay. Casey Anthony, now 36, is telling her version of events on Casey Anthony, Where the Truth Lies. Now, I keep wondering, is this truth or is this lies? She's saying her papa, her own father, did this. Interesting. Okay, we're going to get into some things. We're going to talk about it here in a second. So let's continue. A 3-part limited series which begins streaming on November 29th on Peacock. So in the documentary, she sits down for her first on-camera interview. In 2008, Anthony became internationally infamous after the disappearance of her 2-year-old daughter, Caylee. 6 months after the girl vanished, Caylee's remains were found in a wooded area near the family home. And of course, these are stills from the actual interview. And again, to me, it's like you've had years to figure this out. You've had years to come up with whatever you want to make up, whatever narrative you want to make up. So to me, you already lost me with this interview. But because I'm still on the side of this was done by her own hand, period. But let's continue. Anthony was charged with the unaliving. During her 2011 trial, her legal team said that Caylee had drowned in the family pool. She was infamously acquitted of these charges on July 5th, 2011, but convicted of 4 counts of providing false information to law enforcement, for which she served prison time, which was basically a couple weeks, because she had already been in jail for this time, for a good amount of time. So she only had to do a couple weeks. But here is, to do the remainder of her time served. But here is Caylee, of course, as we all know, infamous photo of Caylee. During her extensive interview, Casey drops several bombshells and elaborates on allegations that she had been SA'd by her father, George, and her brother, Lee. Both vehemently denied her claims in court and have never been charged. They did not return people's messages for the comment. Obviously, this is the article I'm reading here. In the documentary, Casey alleges that her father staged Caylee's situation where she was succumbed by water in order to cover up that he may have been hurting his granddaughter. These are some serious claims, y'all. This is what Casey says. I wasn't feeling that great, and I wanted to lay down. She says this about June 16th, 2008, when Caylee was last seen. I had her lay in bed with me. I was awoken by my father shaking me and asking me where Caylee was. She continues, that didn't make any sense. She would never even leave my room without telling me. I immediately started looking around the house. I go outside and I'm looking to see where she could be. Anthony says she then saw George Anthony holding her daughter. And of course, this is George Anthony right here. All right, the father, or the grandfather, but the father of Casey Anthony. He was standing there with her, she says. She was soaking wet. He handed her to me, said it was my fault, that I caused it. But he didn't rush to call 911, and he wasn't trying to resuscitate her. I collapsed with her in my arms. She was heavy, and she was cold. He takes her from me, and he immediately softens his tone and says, it's going to be okay. I wanted to believe him. He took her from me, and he went away. Casey Anthony says she went to stay with her then boyfriend, Tony Lazaro, but didn't tell anyone what had happened. She says she wasn't under the impression that Caylee was gone. During the 31 days, I genuinely believed that Caylee was still alive. Someone make that make sense. No matter what. Oh my God, there's so much to break down in this. My father kept telling me she was okay. I had to keep following his instructions. He told me what to do. I tried to act as normal as I could. See, this is all wrong. I'm sorry. We're gonna continue here in a second, but you cannot tell me that you collapsed, that you basically emotionally broke down because you saw your unalive baby. You were holding your unalive baby in your arms. You were allegedly holding Caylee in your arms, and you're saying that your father, the grandfather of Caylee, was the one to do this thing. And then suddenly, because he says everything's going to be okay, you just suddenly forget that Caylee is no longer alive, and then go and spend the night over at your boyfriend's place. And then on top of that, and I'll give you this, okay, for a second, I could see shock coming into play. I'll throw that up for a second, for 1 second. But for 31 days, you just listen to your father? For 31 days, man, somebody make this make sense. 31 days, you sit back, you don't even report not a damn thing, not one 911 call. Even at the time when this whole thing happened, where she may have fell in the pool or something like that, if you get what I'm saying. No one called 911, but you were out here for 31 days genuinely believing that Caylee was still alive, but you just leaned on you leaned on your father. That's it. You just leaned on your father, the grandpa, following his instructions. Not once having a moment where your conscience comes into play and says, maybe you should call 911 now. Maybe somebody should report that this young bundle of joy is no longer here. But instead, you wait for your own mama to call 911 to report a missing, to make a missing persons report. What? Make that make sense, y'all. I'm sorry. This is hard. This is hard to take. I'm sorry. I don't believe any of this. This is just fabrication after fabrication after fabrication. Maybe there is some truth within this story, but she's trying to throw other people in to put the blame on them. She's deflecting everything instead of maybe taking full blame. This doesn't make sense. So during the 31 days, I genuinely believe that Caylee was still alive. Her father kept on telling her that it was okay. She had to keep following his instructions, which she didn't have to keep following his instructions at all. She could have called 911. He told me what to do. I tried to act as normal as I could. Yeah, by going out and kicking it and doing hot body contests at bars and stuff like that, right? That's acting normal. Okay. So, when asked if she believes that Caylee fell, I guess, in the above ground pool, Casey Anthony said no. There was no ladder, no way for her to shimmy up. There was no way to explain that unless George, Grandpa, put her in the pool to cover up what he did. Interesting. In the interview, Casey, makes a damning accusation against her father. He'd put a pillow over my face and me to knock me out, she says. That happened several times. I'm sure there were times where I was incapacitated as a child, where my body was limp and lifeless. Casey says that she worries that her father had moved on to doing the same thing, doing this to Caylee. That's what I think about, she says. I wish every day I had said something to someone about something. Maybe then things would be different. They're saying Casey Anthony, Where the Truth Lies, will begin streaming on Peacock on November 29th. Okay, listen, guys. Listen. I got to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, okay? If this is anywhere near the truth, if this is any way near the truth, it is already too late. Ain't nobody out here gonna believe this narrative. Not one. It's unfortunate. If, like I said, if those accusations and this story is true, but she's been sitting here chilling for years, letting this story and this narrative take time to marinate, trying to figure out the best way to put blame on anyone else except herself. Now, what she's saying is, I got to pull up this part though, because she said right here that when she was taken advantage of by her father, George Anthony, he would put a pillow over her head, over her face, almost to the point where she would pass out. She would knock out, and then he would be able to do the unthinkable things that he was able to do. Allegedly. Again, this is all alleged. Okay? And sometimes she would go limp. Like she would pass out. So she's basically saying George possibly did the same thing to Caylee, and this is the reason why maybe he went a little too far and she passed out and she never came back. And of course he freaked out, and then the rest is history. Try to maybe throw her in the pool to make it look like maybe she had succumbed to water. She lost her fight to the pool, right? And basically try to put the blame on Casey. But these new accusations, because let's be real, she did say these accusations about George and Lee, if I'm correct, in court. She said that she was taken advantage of, but by not only her father, but also her brother. They both denied those claims. And again, they never caught a charge. They never caught a charge, not once. But now in this interview, many, many moons later, she's coming out and saying, oh, my father, the grandfather, did all these things. And then I listened to him for 31 days, for well over a month. Okay? While I was living my life like it's golden, I was listening to grandpa, to my father, listening to him tell me how to act and what to do. I'm sorry. This is such BS in my personal opinion. And again, just on the other side of the fence, if this was any way, shape, or form true, it's already too late. She has already lied about many other things before. She has been found guilty of lying about those things. We already know about the timeline. We already know her story of when and how Caylee was reported missing. She hadn't been reported missing for a month, 31 plus days. And it wasn't even reported by the woman that brought her into this world. It was Casey Anthony's mother that called, not Casey Anthony. So even if these accusations were even remotely close to the truth, no one's going to really believe this narrative. To me, it seems like she's grasping at straws, trying to be able to live her life out here and not being looked at like a monster. And what sucks is that if this was any way remotely true, she should have done the right thing when if she was to find her daughter unalive in her arms, she should have been the first person to call 911 and bring her father to justice with the quickness, if he is the one that did these unthinkable things to this young baby. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. These are the most ridiculous accusations I've heard in a while. And again, we are dealing with somebody who was lying before, and we're seeing those lies again. And of course, they say in this documentary, this 3-part documentary, they say that there's new stuff, new pieces of evidence that may make the viewer look in a certain way, look at the story differently. Maybe we'll look at the story differently. Sure. Show us the Carfax. Let me see it. But this narrative, this interview, this piece where she's talking about her actually holding this young baby and seeing her actually not alive, she's clearly showing she knew all this time, but held on to that information for 31 days while she went out, partied her face off, got tattoos, and had the greatest time of her life being free of child. Not once did she call 50. Not once. So again, that's the video. Comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. What are your thoughts on this, right? Do you believe this? Is this a narrative that works for you? Or no? It's a big no for me, dog. It's a big no for me. Anyway, guys, that's the video. I really appreciate you guys checking this out. Please be sure to comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on that. Hit that like button down below, and let's not forget to crush that subscribe button. It'd be great to have you a part of the Pascal Show family. Anyways, time to get going. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. And I'll see you guys in the next video. This is the Pascal Show. Bye.
Pascal, you are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild.